Welcome everybody to this session of the Conscious Dance Conference. We just had a beautiful opening, and if you didn't have a chance to experience it, it'll be available within a few hours, I think, on the website. So maybe you want to check that out and see what happened there. Before we jump into the interview with Jonathan, I wanted to share a little bit with us about the lineages. I wanted to honor the lineages of conscious dance. Okay, so the other day I was hiking in the forests here in Lugano, Switzerland, where I am, and we came across this beautiful tree. It had all these huge trunks that were unified in one tree, and it created these like branches that wove this beautiful tapestry. And we can imagine this tree as the tree of conscious dance. And if we begin to look at the roots, we can notice that there are some very deep roots that go to ancient traditions that used movement as sacred dance. People that knew that they could celebrate, people that celebrated and prayed through movement, and that they could use movement as a way to reach ecstatic states, and people that knew that they could use movement to heal. And we can also notice in this root system that there's another section of it that goes to Carl Jung and his understanding that movement was a way to access the unconscious. And we can also see another section of roots that kind of points towards moving artists like Isadora Duncan and Ruth St. Denis at Tension, who began to kind of use freeform movement, explore freeform movement, and create expressive dances. And then if we begin to look at the trunks of the tree, we can see that the pioneers of conscious dance in the 20th century, like Anna Halprin and the Tamalpa Institute, and she was kind of the mother, the grandmother of expressive arts therapy. So we have Anna Halprin, and we have Emily Conrad with Continuum, and we have Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen with Body Mind Centering, and Charlotte Selver with Sensory Awareness. And we have Mary Starks Whitehouse, who created authentic movement and kind of helped birth dance therapy. And we also have Ronaldo Toro, who created Biodanza, okay? And we have Moss Feldenkrais, who worked with awareness through movement. So these are some of the trunks in that tree. And from the perspective of conscious dance as a like free-form movement that you do in large groups with music, there's a particularly large trunk that is connected to Gabrielle Roth and the 5 rhythms. It birthed a whole elaborate set of branches in and of itself. The 5 rhythms and the way that she worked with movement opened up this possibility for a modern version of movement as spiritual practice and movement as a healing art. It spawned the modalities of soul motion, movement medicine, Azul, open floor. You can kind of say that almost every form of conscious dance container that you experience has some root to her. So each of these trunks is represented in the conference, as well as some of the modern applications of those ancient traditions, as well as the branches, some of them more established branches and some of them very new little green buds. But they're all inside of this conference. And so we have the chance to explore them. It's kind of a feast for us to explore and learn from. And it gives me great pleasure to have Jonathan be a part of this. It's actually really important for me, Jonathan being the son of Gabrielle and the one who is carrying that lineage forward. His movement of kind of saying yes to this and moving towards the larger field of conscious dance allows us to really honor his place in this tree. So we're about to enjoy his interview. And I want to give you a little warning that it gets emotional quickly. It was filmed the day after the anniversary of Gabrielle's passing. So with that, let's enjoy. Hi, everybody. I'm here with Jonathan Horan, an old friend, and his dog, Levi. Look how sweet he is. I want to introduce a little bit of who you are, Jonathan. So that everybody can know. You are the son of Gabrielle Roth and one of her closest collaborators. You are the executive director of her International Institute, Five Rhythms Global, as well as the director of the New York Moving Center School. Jonathan has been immersed in the Five Rhythms practice through his whole life and continues to be a key catalyst in its evolution. He is a member of the core teaching faculty of both training and advanced work and teaches workshops at all levels around the world. It feels super appropriate to me that this session is going to be aired as the first session of the Conscious Dance Conference, because your mother, Gabrielle Roth, was a major contributor to this field. I think of her as the godmother or the mother of this form. I would say that the way that I work with movement is largely inspired by her. And I, like many of the participants, yesterday was a big day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
A big day.
Yeah. For those of you who may not know, we're doing this interview on October 23rd, and yesterday was the day that Gabrielle passed.
Yeah.
And it's good to feel that love and loss.
And she's everywhere right now. She's more accessible right now than ever before. So, all you have to do is ask. And she'll be there. She'll whisper in your ear. She'll dance with you.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, she was an amazing, amazing woman. I remember the first time that I danced with her, I was 21 and she was teaching in Seattle, and for some reason she like spoke for the first hour and a half of the thing. And I remember I like fell in love with her even before we moved. Like just the way that she expressed herself and the way that she moved with her whole body, and everything that she was saying just woke up so much inside of me that I was hooked immediately. And I know that many people have that experience with her.
She was incredible in the way that she just, it was hard not to like, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a moment, but
please do, Jonathan. It's beautiful.
but she was so able to reach your heart, like just instantaneously. You didn't have any rhyme or reason. Like it was just her, and she just could like penetrate like incredibly, your inner world, just like that, just bam, like, and it, and this is my mom.
Yeah.
And so I got that every day, and wow, I have to say I'm thankful, I'm grateful. Um, my heart explodes every day, and yesterday, of course, was it's a tough one. It's like, wow, you lost your mom. I know all of you out there that have lost a mom, like you feel me, and well, one step forward, one step forward. We just keep walking forward.
Yeah, yeah. She really birthed something into form. There was nobody really doing what she was doing before in the way that she was doing it,
Yeah,
using movement as a healing art, movement as spiritual practice, but in this like full on sweaty, very, like real and, dropping into the magic and mystery of that space. And now it's, there's all these branches of it, but she was really the one that birthed that made that possible, that we work in that way. And so,
absolutely.
yeah, I really want to honor her for that, and always do, and honor you for carrying that work forward. And I think it would probably be pretty amazing for people to hear a little bit of what that was like for you to grow up in that field with her.
Oh wow, first I want to take you back to Esalen, back to where it all began, and just seeing like all these other modalities, um, and then seeing people walking out from the space from Huxley, walking out and like they were vibrant, they were alive, they were you could see that they were shattered from the work, but at the same time you could see that they were alive, they wanted to be a part of this, and they wanted to go forward. And so many other like modalities that I saw, they just look crushed. They really look crushed. I mean, they would come out of the room and like, wow. And as a little kid, I'm just looking at this like, wow, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think I'll choose this one where the people are happy coming out of the room, not unhappy coming out of the room. So, that was like the beginning for me, was just seeing the vibration of people so excited, and yet having done some pretty intense work, coming out of the room. So why wouldn't I join? I mean, like, I wanted to. When I was 7 years old, I did my first 7-day workshop. I loved it. I loved it. I was all in. So, and from that point on, I just continued, and my mother was, to say the least, she was just an entity that you could not, you couldn't put her in any place. She was just amazing, like the way that she spoke, and it was very touching, and like every time she spoke, like you felt it in your heart. You felt it. You felt it immediately, and that's exactly what you were saying from the first moment. Like it wasn't something that you like intellectual. It was definitely something that like just straight off. right off the bat. You're just hits you right in the heart. And for me, I mean, I couldn't be more gifted in the way that, like, wow, I grew up with this. So I feel great. I mean, my mom was a special person, and I'm gifted to have been her son, and then I honor that totally and completely.
Yeah. You really grew up with the formation of the work. Yeah. I mean, it happened right alongside you, like the five rhythms as a form and working in that way. Like it was kind
Well,
of coming.
I watched it all kind of being constructed.
Yeah.
She was figuring it out,
Yeah.
and it took a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that just, she uh like made. Like it was a work in progress that just slowly made its way. And when she wrote her first book, Maps to Ecstasy, um that was like, I want to say, the first age.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Amara? That was the first age.
Yes.
Then she wrote the second book, and that was the second age. And like a whole nother, like, now there were teachers around the world, and things were happening. People could practice every day, and that changed everything. It was beautiful, in that way, because when I grew up, you just had her.
Right.
So, and probably when you first came in, you understand, like, wow, the only way I can practice the five rhythms was going to a Gabrielle Roth workshop. But then it suddenly changed in this incredible way, that there were teachers like you, and and people could practice on a weekly basis, and that changed everything. That was like the floodwaters broke right there. Like that was that changed everything. And we now, around the world, practice every day, or weekly. And like, this practice has become a part of our culture. It's
Yeah.
incredible. It has become a part of our culture. And not just like, when like, I'm an American, and I can say, like, okay, it's become a part of my culture. No, Spain, Russia, South Africa, everywhere in the world, Australia, like, this practice has, like, exploded.
That's an amazing feat. It's really served our world so well, and Five Rhythms has really paved the way for this kind of experience, for people to have a taste of the freedom and the joy of moving their bodies in this way, and what that can, give to them in their own kind of connection to themselves and each other and to the world. So very happy. When did you start to teach, Jonathan? How old were you?
Well, it's funny,
What, how did that come to be?
Gabrielle got me in, and I was going to be an actor. I grew up in New York City, and I was really on the trajectory to be a, Brad Pitt type of guy. And all that was lining up really well, and I was right on that path. And then Gabrielle, one year, just decided that, in Mirrors, which is, our workshop about the ego, decided, like, oh, you should teach this repetition exercise. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't really want to do that. No, 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 no. And she was like, yes, 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 yes. And of course, when your mother, when your teacher, when your best friend says you have to do this, you have to do this. So I did it, and that was the beginning of my teaching. Um, but then maybe 4 or 5 years later, I had a bad snowboarding accident, and I dislocated my knee. And I don't know if you guys can really understand dislocating your knee, but like this is your knee, right? My knee was like this, not like this, like this. And somewhere in that process, I it really came to me who I was and what I was supposed to do in this life. And that was to teach the five rhythms, because I feel like, growing up with Gabrielle, I got so much love and so many teachings that most people would never get. And I just felt so strongly in my heart that I needed to give that back. I have to give this love that was given to me back. I must. There was no question. There was no question. Like, I have to give this love back. So then I was on my path. And I've been on that path ever since. And I've been having a good time. And, when my mom died, in some ways it was really freeing,
Mm-hmm.
because, like, she was in control of her world. And then all of a sudden it was me.
Mm.
So I had to, make decisions for myself. And where do I want this world to go? And I can't tell you, Amaria, I've had so much fun with this. I've had so much fun with this.
Oh,
And
that's really good to hear, Jonathan.
yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am. I just, I just, the five rhythms is like the most fabulous world and lifestyle that you can imagine. Like, and I know and I know you've gone your own way, but it is really a cool world to be in.
Can you
And
talk a little bit about that world for people so that they understand the flavor and the
sure,
inspiration and the
sure,
teaching of that work?
sure. Well, like, here I am in Brooklyn, New York, and every week I do my five rhythms class on Tuesday nights and Sundays, and these guys show up. And like, when I look at them and I think about their life, like, wow, these guys, like, have lived a week. They've been through a lot of stuff in that week, and then here they are in this class, and they're really showing up in a big way to dance through that week, like, just clean house. You know what I mean? Like, this is their moment to kind of just let that week go, and or integrate, or in some ways infuse. But they have this huge experience of life, and then they come to the class and they just dance it, man. They dance it like you can't imagine. Like, when you sit and witness and see these people, like, dancing their life. It's like, wow. Oh, it's the most incredible experience. And I couldn't be more honored to be the person that would be holding space for these people to do this process. Like they are working their shit out. They are either celebrating, or on the other side they're mourning, or they're but they are very much in their life, and I'm just holding space for these beautiful people to do what they need to do. Whatever it is that they need to do, they can do it in the class. And I just feel honored, and it's spectacular to be a part of this vision that Gabrielle made, and to move it forward, and just kind of, humbly do my thing. I'm ecstatic in that I've been provided with this in incredible practice that serves so many people around the world, and that I can show up, and kind of be the man. Makes me really happy.
Yeah, the form of I mean, Gabrielle, one of her big messages was, really like how to include everything that's happening as part of us, right? And to dance it on the dance floor, and to kind of come home to ourselves in that way, to not, try to be something that we're not, to actually discover like who we are and what's actually happening, and to like kind of open ourselves to like have all of that be us, so that we can be the fullness of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that kind of cathartic, I have this, if you look at the evolution of dance and movement, and kind of where we were when we were in Esalen. I was a little young. We were exactly the same age, Jonathan. So I turned 50 this year too. But at that point in time, people needed really to be like kind of shooken up, to like kind of break loose a little bit from everything that had like held us down. So it's like the rhythms were born in that ground, from that need, that cultural need to like just like take off the shackles kind of, and allow the fullness of who we are to be. And it's kind of interesting to feel the evolution, where we are now as a people, and how that, what is it that's happening now in our world? Like, what do we need now? Is it still that same breaking loose? Is there other pieces that are starting to enter? And I feel like we're evolving a little bit in who we are as people. So there's still that huge need to break free. That hasn't like gone away, but it's expanded into kind of taking those next steps with it, and like tending to the shadows, and tending to the parts that we alienated, and now we've included. And now how do we like shift some of that energy? How do we embrace it and integrate it in a way so that we can kind of take our next steps, and on this grand journey that we're on of moving towards love? At least that's the way that I feel it. And
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, does that?
I resonate completely.
Yeah.
We're on a magical path. There's no doubt. Um, yeah, the 60s, pretty messy. The 70s, trying to pull it together. The 80s, let's not even talk about that. The 90s, getting funner, 2000s, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And you can see it in the world. Like, obviously we're in an age of chaos, and things are breaking down and shattering, and it's not really fun. Like the Arab Spring. Wow, okay, wow, we're gonna do this, but we don't have any foundation to fall back on, and so it's just a mess. Um and yet, like that energy of chaos is a part of our culture. It's like, but we don't know really what to do with it, and that's why, like, I love that people come to the class. I love that people come to the workshops, and I love that they're choosing to make a decision to choose the creative rather than the destructive. Like, yes, I could just sit around and watch CNN, or I could go to this workshop and, like, kind of have this real mirror
Yes.
that I see myself in the midst of others, and have this experience that I'm growing. I hope I'm growing. And well, I know that I'm in something. There's no doubt about that. I am definitely participating in something that's like, it's catalytic, and hopefully I'm growing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of our works, your work, my work, Gabrielle's work, like, provide just a sanctuary to kind of reflect on who we are and where we're going and what we want to do with that.
Yes.
And to me, that's the most important thing. Like, yeah, I love to watch baseball. I'm a baseball fan. I love it, but I also love checking in. I
Yeah.
love it. I love, like, having the mirror and having that moment, and whether that be weekly or monthly or whatever, depends on who you are. Like, I have to have that. Like, I must have that moment where I come to grips with who I am, and what is this all about, and why am I here, and what can I do to kind of help the greater good. Because to me, it's all about the greater good.
Mhm.
I mean, like, the greater good. Are you hearing me? Like, yeah, you could make your life about yourself, but somewhere in there, there's this thing called the greater good. And the greater good, like, when you put your energy into that, it makes you feel so good. And everyone wants to get behind you. If you decide that you want to do something for the greater good, everyone wants to get behind you. But if you decide, well, I just want to do this for myself, well, you got a few friends, you got a couple people that are like, yeah, all right, I love that. Yeah, cool, do it. But when you say the greater good, everybody just like, wow, okay, we're on board. We're going to go.
I think we might be having just a small taste of that in the moment with this conference because
Yes,
it doesn't like
yes,
that.
yes. That's what this conference is all about. It is about the greater good.
Exactly.
That's why you're doing this, Amara. That's why you're doing this.
Exactly. And everybody's gotten on board. It's really beautiful to feel and to see. And here we are bringing this form.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes, it is. It's beautiful.
And I couldn't be more proud of you. I really couldn't. I really
Thanks.
couldn't be more proud of you, This is what you're doing is so beautiful, and I know my mom would be very proud.
Oh,
You see me?
I,
I know my mom would be very proud. And I am very proud. You keep rocking it, girl. You keep rocking it. You keep doing your good work. You keep running out there in the world and doing your good thing, because like you're making me happy, and my heart right now is so warm. It's so warm. And I had a tough day yesterday,
yeah.
and this was a good rebound.
Oh, good.
This was a good rebound. I mean, I couldn't be more happy. And I would like to say a little bit about what I've been doing with the five rhythms,
I would love you to share that.
if that's okay.
Yes.
So when my mom was passing, I was in this sort of process of like, well, the big question for all five rhythms teachers is that you go someplace and then like let's say I go to South Africa. Okay, well, there's no five rhythms teachers. There is, but I'm just I'm kind of
Making a point.
So when you're leaving, people always ask, what are we supposed to do now? And so every five rhythms teacher in the world has been like, well, there's nothing you can do because there's no five rhythms teacher here. So you can't do anything. So, and this gutted me. I mean, it really, 30 years, it just gutted me, and nobody could figure it out. My mom couldn't figure it out. Kathy couldn't figure it out. Lori couldn't figure it out. Andrea couldn't figure it out. Nobody could figure it out. Well, Jonathan Horan appeared. And I had this vision of well, it revolved around holding space, right? So holding space doesn't necessarily mean teaching. So I came up with this thing called the Space Holder program. And so that places in the world could create a community that would have the five rhythms and be in the five rhythms world, but not necessarily have like a teacher. So, but part of this program is that you're an apprentice. If you're a space holder, then you are an apprentice to a teacher or multiple teachers. And so this community gets to grow up, which never would have been, like it never would have been, but here it is. Now it's happening. It's happening hopefully weekly. And the teachers coming in, and maybe once a month they're actually teaching. So you have this sweat that is happening weekly, and then you have this teacher that's coming in like monthly and giving the teachings, and so you have this whole new community that never would have been. And and that teacher would have been like, well, sorry, nothing we can do. but now we have this thing called the Space Holder Program, and there's people can, like when a teacher goes to do workshop, they can say, oh yes, you can continue. And for me, I can't even tell you. I'm so excited. And it's worked out so well. And the beauty is that I just did a training for Five Rhythms teachers. And the first big wave of space holders was in this training. And I can't tell you like how they were so far ahead of the game to come in, to have held space for people for 3 years, and have that all like under their belt, and then to do the training. Wow. Like night and day. Like these guys were so confident and so beautiful and from all around the world, and then they get to go back home to this. They've already created a community, so it's not like you're starting at zero. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just remarkable. I have to pat myself on the shoulder. Yeah, I'm patting myself on the shoulder. Jonathan did good. This was a great idea, and it's working out really well.
Very good. It has worked out well. I think there's been many people and many communities that have been served well. What else has been happening in the world from you're holding the legacy now. You're tending to the legacy of the rhythms, and I am really curious, what else is moving in you with that, and what do you feel is important about that?
Wow, that's a big question.
It is a big question.
The Five Rhythms seemingly are viral. Like they're just exploding around the world, and I seem to be the manager, and I personally, I just try and stay out of the way. Like love just spreads, and what am I going to do? I don't want to get in the way of that. I don't want to get in the way of people falling in love. So that, it's just sprinkling, from country to country, and from nation to nation, and what's next? Yeah, that's a big question. Like
Well, maybe I can break it down for you a little bit, and you can come back to that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious for participants to hear a little bit. Like we know this world. We're like familiar with it. We know what it feels like, and we know how it serves. And I want to invite people into that a little bit. Like what. There are things that happen through conscious dance, and specifically through Five Rhythms, that really help us to, like you're saying, to for the greater good, to be better human beings, to kind of move along our journey. And and we get to do it in this kind of like fun way, very direct way with the body. But I just wonder if there's anything else that we can name for people about how this works. Like what's important about that? What does it give people? What is conscious dance and the Five Rhythms support people in? Is there any language that we can put to that can help to invite people into that experience?
Well, first off, Amara, you and everyone has a choice of what they want to do with their energy. Now, every week for me, stuff happens. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but that all builds up. And where does it build up? It builds up in the body. My body. I hold this story about this subway event, or whatever happened to me in a week. I got fired, I got hired, whatever it is, it's all stored in this body. So having a weekly practice, I think, is the most important thing. Mm. I think that this for our sanity is the most important thing, is that like you have some outlet. Like you must have some outlet to disperse that energy that's built up over this week. Like I think that this is like the most important thing that you could possibly have. And maybe it's doing Aikido, or maybe it's doing judo, or maybe it's doing the 5 rhythms. But I do think that the 5 rhythms is going to hit you in a dynamic that Aikido or judo or Tai Chi probably isn't going to hit you, because you have all the rhythms of life, and you really get a full outlet to empty out like what's happened, what's occurred. And to me, that is like the exhale. When you go and dance for 2 hours a week, you're taking a deep exhale. And that exhale is freeing us of all the pressure and the tension and all the things that are sort of weighing us down or holding us back. So
yeah, they're like a big energetic wash. Like that's the way I think about the work, is like this big energetic wash that allows us to, like you said, exhale. And then you can take that a little further, and like, so we exhale from the week, or we kind of clear out from the week, and then when we do a weekend, we have the possibility to dig a little deeper and clear out a little more.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then
or a 5-day
or a 5-day.
month-long.
Exactly. Remember those month-longs with Gabrielle?
Well, I'm about to do another one.
You are.
In Denmark, 2021. Wow. Vila, come for the big month-long experience.
Wow, I'm impressed. I would like to do that too someday. We'll see. Because of this, I think it's really powerful when we can stay in for a long time. We have the ability to kind of to move things through to a point that leaves a lot of empty space.
Yeah, and the beauty of extending your weekend, week, month, like who we are just walking around in the world. Jonathan, I'm walking around in the world, and like I have my my kind of status quo. But when you do a weekend, you sort of disorganize that and get to choose, like, I don't need this, I like this. You do 2 weeks, wow, okay, now this is much more intense, and now I'm really getting to choose the parts of me that are working and the parts of me that are not working. Now you do a month long, it is like whatever armor that you have on is dissolving, and in that dissolving, like, we have the potential for the biggest breakthroughs in the world. I mean, like things that are so deep and from, so, and for me, I mean, I was in a Gabrielle Roth month long, and that's when I had my biggest moment that I've ever had in the five rhythms. And it just completely blew me open and set me, Amara, totally and completely on a new trajectory. Like, there was the day before, and there was that day, and there was the day after, where I was clearly on a new path.
Yeah.
I was clearly on a new path.
Yes.
And it was undeniable. And it was only because I danced for 28 days straight that broke me down. I mean, like, I'm a tough motherfucker. And like I needed that. Like, I needed that all those days to break me down.
Yeah.
To literally break me down. Like everything that I had going, like, oh, I'm gonna work this world, and it all had to go, and it did, and I am who I am today.
Yes. Exactly. I think in small ways and big ways, like you just shared a really big way, but even in small ways, it's something that happens over and over on the dance floor. When we hang out for long periods of time, there's something that happens in that space that is really magical. And
Absolutely.
it connects us to an alignment with who we really are in a deeper place. And that creates a different pattern from that moment forward. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Just, but you have to be of the ilk that would do it. You have to be that type of dude that would actually do it. Or lady. Like, because we're few and far between. The people that are willing to really step up in that way, not so much. But
don't you think there's more and more of them, though?
I'm encouraging all of you to dig down deep. My loves, dig down deep. Like, you don't even know what your life is capable of. And you put yourself in a situation where you're really testing yourself, you're really challenging yourself in a big way, and then you find out, then you find out who you really are.
Yeah. And it's time for us to take some risks and to put ourselves out there a bit, I think. And many of us are feeling that kind of call of whatever you want to call it. I call it awakening, whatever that is. But that process of like opening up to like who we really are and what is really possible in this life. And it's hard to hold on to that when the world is like falling apart. And I hope that dance can be one way that people find refuge and relief and connection again. so that we can continue to, like, step by step, together, we can, like, remember and take our place. Each of us take our place.
Yeah, and that's, brings me back to the weekly class. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, if you're just moving at least one day a week, like, and integrating, like, taking that 2 hours or whatever it is to kind of just simulate, like, what the fuck is going on, because so much is going on, man. It's like, oh, it almost drives you crazy if you watch the news. Like, it just it's
Yeah.
too much. And then you have your own life beyond Donald Trump. There's your own life.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you integrate all of that? And, like, for me, it's movement. You got to move it. You got to move it. You got to move it. I mean, you just have to move it. Like, if I didn't move it, I would, wow, stir crazy. Like, I don't even know what the word is. Like, I would be freaking out. And I walk down the street and, like, everybody looks somewhat calm, but I know what's really going on.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate your message. It feels like a key part of it for people to be encouraged to dance, to find their way to some kind of a weekly practice. And hopefully, with all of your space holders in the world, that's getting easier and easier to find.
Yeah, teachers, space holders, like, we're rocking. We're
Yeah.
really rocking. The five rhythms is rocking. I'm not worried.
No, no, it's beautiful to hear you say you're getting out of the way. I think that's a very good message as well.
Yeah, and when I say I'm getting out of the way, I mean it literally. Um, like, we have Tammy Bernstein, who's teaching cycles now.
Great.
Right, so we have, like, other people teaching these other, kind of bigger workshops. Alex McKay, who's a tremendously beautiful uh, teacher from England, is teaching God, Sex, and the Body. Pretty soon, Peter Federa is also going to be teaching cycles. So, it's like, I'm happy to give it away, but it has to be the right people. They have to be in the right place, and I'm happy to pass it on. I mean, this is what was given to me. I'm happy to give it to the world. And so,
For
not
the
all about
greater good.
it's not all about Jonathan.
No.
There's many other beautiful people out there that are going to share this work and um, touch, many people.
Yes, Peter Federa is going to be at the One Dance Tribe in New York in March.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm so excited.
He's a beautiful, beautiful soul.
Oh yes, he
Wise elder of our
is.
world. So
He's the best. He
yeah,
really is the best.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay, Jonathan, I think we are good. Oh, and you're back.
well, hi Levi. Hi Levi.
So thank you so much, Jonathan, for sharing with the conference and with me and having this time together. It was really good for my heart.
All of you guys out there, this is an amazing thing that's happening, this conference. I hope that you learn one thing, just one thing. That's when I wake up every day, I just want to learn one thing. And I hope that in all that's being given, and there's a lot a lot of people and a lot of giving, that if you just walk away with one thing that really hit you, that landed in you, and that's why Amara's here. That's her birthright. She made this happen. Mwah.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I love you.
I love you too.